greatest cancer today is not racism, it's not culture, it's not even apartheid, it's not even economic apartheid. South Africa's greatest cancer today is people expect things to which they are not due. That's the problem in our society. If you go on Instagram and you have a look at how many people are driving Porsche 911s who can't even read a balance sheet, that's exactly the problem. Because unfortunately, we live in a country today where it's no longer your ability to build something that's of value, it's more your ability to find somebody that controls the procurement budget that's of value. If that is true, and it is, then in 20 years' time, the economic situation we face will be far more dire than it is today. Diepsloot will be twice the size it is today. Alex will be 4 times the size it is today. Those are not my numbers, by the way. Those are numbers that belong to Future World. Have a look at their research around the stuff they've done, around the emergence of civilizations, and what happens when capital does not go to entrepreneurs who need it.
If there is nothing else in this room, my honest hope is we can all walk out of here with a greater sense of purpose for South Africa. So I spend more time now outside the country than I do here. And it's not particularly because I prefer it, but it is the nature of my job. 217 presentations last year, 17 countries over the past 2 years alone. This year I've just come back from Sri Lanka, so in month 9, that was country number 12 in 1 year. And that's not because I'm good, it just generally is because God has really blessed me. And that's how I look at it. I think anybody else, anywhere else, has the skills, abilities, and opportunities that I've had. I've simply been blessed with something that other people have not. The reason I say this is, if we don't have a global context, we miss the point completely. So if you travel to Silicon Valley, the world's most disruptive square meterage by any stretch of the imagination, one of the things you'll find very interesting is the world's youngest, most innovative, most disruptive entrepreneurs who have changed the face of globalized civilizations as we know them today drive Golf GTIs. Right? So Mark Zuckerberg called himself a Golf GTI. Larry Page, he drives a Corsa. They call it a Vauxhall over there. It's a Corsa. Those of you who don't know who Larry Page is, he's one of the 2 founders of Google. Okay. So here is a man who built a business that not only shaped his civilization, but shaped how civilizations function. Let me tell you the impact of Google. Pre-Google, people knew information. Post-Google, people didn't know information, they knew where to find it. My mother's day, it was important for you to know stuff. That's why your parents bought encyclopedias. You remember that, right? Remember when you used to write tests, you used to cram what was in the book. Young people don't do that today, because any question you ask them is Google away. So there is clearly something wrong with how we framed the function of our society. This is particularly prevalent, and I have to say it, in my community. My best friend is Jewish. He just sold his business for 1.3 billion rand. He started it 15 years ago. 15 years ago, he started his business that operates in a market where there have been hundreds of black people operating for the longest time. 15 years later, he's selling it for 1.3 billion. Before he started, there were ample black people operating in that space. Now that he sold it, there are ample black people operating in that space. We are very happy to sit on the other end of the table and go, no, the problem is access to capital. Very happy. But none of us here have the courage, the audacity, the unmitigated temerity to march to the offices of the National Empowerment Fund and say to them, what are you doing with your 40 billion rand high growth capital fund that you're supposed to be plowing into entrepreneurs? And why is it that some of us can raise 30 million rand for a single shop in a very high-class shopping mall? But there are many of us who have great ideas and great access and great opportunities who don't have quite the same thing. Why is that? It's because in the language and conversation to accessing capital, there's something a bit more than how good your business plan is. So not only do we have this cancer of wanting instant gratification, we also have a cancer if you're not part of what I call the connected economy. If you're not connected, you're not in that economy, then you have no reasonable prospects of building a good life for yourself, for your family, or a good future.